Thanks for checking out my micro drawings channel. Today I am drawing Calvin and Hobbes picture, and I'll get back to that, but I thought I'd show you the setup first. I've got my Canson XL 100 weight smooth acid-free paper. That works great. I've got my Copic Multiliner 0.03. There's a quarter and pencil for scale. There's my holder for my iPhone to video. And there's my OT light. That gives me a good clear light. Here are my Copic sketch markers and the colors I'll be using in today's drawing. And there's a piece of scratch paper to test my colors out in case I've got some questions about what colors I want to use. There you can see the fine tip of that Copic Multiliner. And I'll get started here. A lot of the Calvin and Hobbes comics will feature Calvin and Hobbes in their wagon rolling down a hill, flying through the air, that sort of thing. And I thought this one was pretty funny with the bad landing, and of course there's humorous words that go with it too. But I'm not putting those in. I'm just doing the drawing here. So this is based on Bill Watterson's original awesome comic strip creator, amazing, and he ran from 1985 to 1995. And so I've got all the books and really loved this comic strip growing up myself. So in this case there, I started with the part of Calvin's face that's planted in the grass. And then it's working from the back of Calvin, so it's putting his spiky hair in there. And there I'm working on his back of his shirt, and his hand is outstretched there. And there you can see the feet of his. So he's down on his stomach, face down, legs up in the air behind him. And as I'm drawing here, I'm kind of going back to the reference that I started with, which was Calvin's head and Calvin's face, and then basing things from there. And I am looking at a reference photo when I'm doing this. I do some other artwork other than the comic strip, cartoon type micro drawings. And in that type of artwork, I do a lot of freehand from memory and so on. But this, I'm looking to create, what the original creator had. So here I'm putting in a reference to Calvin's body there, the wagon, and I'm outlining it first. And just working with that Copic Multiliner. And then I will put some shading in here, some shadowing with the dark lines. And the cool style of Bill Watterson's, and similar to Charles Schulz of Snoopy and Peanuts fame, it's a little loose. And it's really cool though, and I'm sure it's multiple takes and drawings to get the final, but just that's the ending result is a loose look. The lines aren't perfectly straight, they aren't perfectly cut off, like the stripes on Hobbes don't always end exactly at the end of the body outline and whatnot. So just kind of a neat style that allows for some imperfection too, especially when someone's trying to imitate their art. So there I'm just adding a little of the background as well with the grass. There's the quarter for scale. And at this point, the quarter still covers it up. Later on, you'll see that part of their, I guess part of Hobbes's paw does stick out beyond the quarter. So I didn't quite make it under the quarter as far as the total drawing dimension. And one thing I'm looking for too when I'm drawing is lines. And I'll continue to try to point that out in my videos, but in this case, I see that line of Hobbes's back, that curving back of his going from, about the height of the wagon down to the grass. And from there, I'm working in, looking at the reference of that line to the width of his body and what's looking right as far as to get the accuracy of his body shape and dimensions and proportions, I guess. And his tail, in this case, it's a little bent up, kind of right angle bends. Usually it's a little more flexible looking and smooth looking. In this case, he's just tumbled through the sky and landed on the dirt in the wagon debacle here, so he's a little messed up. So I made the decision to leave his stripes off until after I've got the color on them. And the reason why is I thought my stripes are going to be a little thicker in parts, and it likely would have been okay. Usually this alcohol based Copic sketch markers, and with this good paper, there's not a lot of bleeding or blurring. But my stripes are going to be a little thicker. You know, it's not just one line of black. It's almost like I'm 3-4 lines and coloring them in a little bit. So I thought some of the ink might build up and might cause a problem when I came back over the orange if it wasn't dried enough. So that's why I decided to wait till the end. So when I'm coloring here, it's just going to be a blank tiger. After that, then I will add the black lines. But it's just something where I've run into trouble before. So there you can see the quarter, again, for scale. And here I'm going, getting started with the Copic sketch markers. That's the cotton pearl. I use that for skin tones. It works well for Kelvin. It also works well in my Snoopy or Peanuts drawings for Charlie Brown, Lucy, Linus, and so on. There's the cadmium yellow. That is for Kelvin's hair. And sometimes I'll rotate the paper so that I can get that point, the fine tip end of those Copic sketch markers, you know, right up to the edge of where I need them to be. There's vermilion, and that's what I'm using for the red of Kelvin's shirt and the wagon. In this case, the wagon, some of the three-dimensionality is because of that dark shadow just inside the left lip of the wagon. I probably could have used a slightly lighter colored red on the right side too, but I think it turned out okay. So there I am rotating it to work that right up to the grass. And then next I'm moving on to this pale blue. Not much use for the pale blue, just the inside ring of those tires. Just trying to add some additional detail. There's the chrome orange, and that works well for Hobbes. And his tail is pretty darn thin, so I'll wait for that one more horizontal type line at this point, and I'll rotate the paper and then work on that with the fine tip the other way. Just seems to work out better. To be open to, you know, rotating the paper and drawing that, bringing it towards you, that fine tip, like there. I'm just barely touching, but again, bringing it to me. If I'd push up into it, the tip of it might flare out and go over the line. So just trying to be very careful with that. There again, I'm touching into where the grass meets up with Hobbes's back. And there's a little sand color. That's just for the bottom of Kelvin's shoes. So just a little more additional detail. And just about finished up here. I do need to add a little cool gray. That's just adding a little shading or shadow to the parts of the wagon, to the tires there. And then the last piece here, I'll be using the yellow-green to add the grass color. This takes a little bit more time. One, because there is more grass than anything, as far as area or size and shape, and then also because there's a lot to work around here. I'll end up rotating the paper a little bit to work up to Kelvin's hands and his forehead there, without trying to, you know, get things too close together so they bleed over. Again, these sketch markers work pretty great, and there's not a lot of bleed, but you can blend them together by overlapping them. And some of my different works, I do that. The superheroes, Ant-Man, for example, if you look in the playlist, you'll see that there's a lot of blending there. Same thing with the Fortnite characters, if you look at that playlist. So here comes the stripes on Hobbes that I talked about. And I'm just working along here, adding those in. And again, I like the style here because if you're a little off or go over the edges on Hobbes, that's Bill Watterson's style that he used. So it's a little more forgiving in that, you know, there's not precise perfection. So just working along there. And then as I work on the back, this is where some of those thicker stripes are, where, and like I said before, I didn't want to add the orange after I had those, just in case my thicker stripes still had some ink that hadn't dried. So that's why I'm adding them at this point. And I'll just continue to work down Hobbes's body, getting towards his shoulders that are in the grass. And then all that's left is to put on today's date, June 11th of 2021. And then I'll get the quarterback on for scale. Again, thanks for checking out the channel. Please subscribe and share if you haven't, and have a great day.